list of everything that we've done, what the rule is, and some examples. We'll go through this together. If you guys are participating and answering questions, then we'll get through it faster, and that will give you more time to work on stuff so you don't have to stay in here if you don't want to. If we are adding and subtracting, then all we do is combine like terms. The variables do not change. So for example, if I said 9x squared y minus 10x squared y, they're like terms because they both have the x squared y. So you subtract their coefficients. 9 minus 10 gives me -1, and the variable stays x squared y. You could also write just negative x squared y, that is equivalent. Oh my goodness, Caleb, you have a pencil?
I just found it in the binder.
Wow, you should put it back in your binder, and then you're going to have one. This is crazy. It's like the first time in 6 months you've had a pencil. All right, if I say subtract 6w from 8w, so we're subtracting from, so the 8w is first, minus 6w. And what would that give me? 2w. Product rule. Product rule says if you have variables written side by side, what do we do with their exponents? So if I said like h squared times h to the 6th, what do I do with those? Add them. So this will give me h to the 8th. So if it's x to the a times x to the b, the rule is just to add those exponents. All right, number 2 on that example. So if we are multiplying those, we have to multiply the coefficients. So if I said -2 times 7, that would give me -14, good. With my a's, a squared and a to the 3rd, that would be a to the 5th. And b times b. If there's no exponent written, it's 1. So if you have 1b and 1b, then that would give us 2b's. What if it is a power to a power? What do we do with those exponents? Times them. So this is x to a times b. So if I say x squared to the 3rd, that becomes x to the 6th. Okay, here. You have to square both parts. So we have to do a -2 squared m to the 5th squared and times our m cubed. Okay, -2 squared. If you're doing that on your calculator, it means -2 times -2. So put that -2 in parentheses with the square on the outside. What does that turn out to be? I know somebody in here can tell me what -2 times -2 is. Positive 4. 2 negatives make a positive. So put the -2 in parentheses if you do it on the calculator. So we get 4 m to the 5th squared. What do you do with those exponents? They're side by side, so we multiply. So that's an m to the 10th. And we still have our m cubed. So now to put it together, m to the 10th times m to the 3rd. Add those exponents so we get 4m to the 13th for our final answer. It's okay to write it out in steps and kind of show some work there. That might be necessary sometimes. All right, what if we are dividing?
divide the first number and then subtract the exponent.
Right. If it's exponents, we are subtracting them. If we have coefficients, we go ahead and divide like normal. So on number 1 over here, you go to your calculator. I want you guys to type in 27 over 42. And we can answer it as a fraction, but tell me, what does that give me?
9 over 14.
Thank you. And then we look at our x's. We have 5 on top and 1 on the bottom. So 5 minus 1 is 4. Alright, you guys try number 2. If you have y squared squared, what does that become? So we have y to the 4th divided by y to the 4th. Okay, if you subtract those exponents, you get y to the 0 power. Or you can think, what happens if you divide something by itself? If I do 2 divided by 2 or 5 divided by 5, what does that give me? 1. So this turns into a 1 because it's the exact same thing on top and bottom. They cancel out. We have to have a 1 left. Alright, exponents. This is the part that you were watching Friday. If you were responsible and did what you were supposed to do. A negative exponent essentially changes floors. Okay, if we think of this as a fraction, x to the negative a, that negative is saying it's going to go down to the bottom. And when you move it to the bottom, the exponent becomes positive. Okay, so a negative exponent takes it to the bottom of our fraction. Or, if it's on the bottom, and it's a negative exponent, where would it go? And we move up to the top. So a negative exponent just flips its position. And once you flip it, it becomes a positive. Alright, the exponent only applies to the thing directly in front of it. So it's only the x that is negative. That 5 just stays. But x to the negative 2 means I need an x squared on the bottom of my fraction. So it becomes 5 divided by x squared. So if I look at number 2, if I divide 4 divided by 8, what does that give me? Okay, with my case, if we subtract those exponents, okay, there's different ways of thinking about it. Maybe the easiest option, well, do I have more k's on top or bottom? Bottom, so it's going to end on the bottom. So we subtract, what's 5 minus 2? 3. So we didn't have any with the variable on the bottom until Friday. When we're dividing, we still subtract those exponents, but if you have more of them on the bottom, it will end on the bottom. The last thing we have here, talking about anything to the 0 power, we kind of saw this on number 2. If I had subtracted those exponents, it would have been y to the 0 power. And I said that's the same thing as just saying this is equal to 1. So anything to the 0 power, the rule is it's a 1. It's just saying I don't have any x's, so we have a 1 instead. Anytime you don't have a coefficient, it's understood to be a 1. So 7 times x to the 0. Well, x to the 0 is saying I really don't have any x's here, so it's just a 1. So 7 times 1 is 7. Alright, number 2. What would you do first? Multiply, so that becomes w to the 8th divided by w to the 8th. So 2 ways to do it. We could think of it just like we talked about on number 2. If you have the same thing on top and bottom, what's anything divided by itself? 1. Or if you subtracted exponents, you get w to the 0 power, which I've now told you is 1. So either way you think about it, we get to the same final answer. Alright. What questions do you guys have for me today? Why don't you just flip over, I don't have anything copied on the back of that paper, do I? I do. Okay, never mind. I just want to look up here and look at another example. I want to throw in a couple more with negative exponents since I wasn't here Friday. What if I said if I gave you this problem, what do you do first?
Multiply 9 and 2/3.
So 9 times 2/3 is 6. When I multiply my x's, we add those exponents. What is -5 plus -7? Final answers, we always want positive exponents. Okay, the 6 is fine. That -12 is only touching this x. Exponents only hit what's directly in front of it. So what do I need to do with my x?
Put it on the bottom.
6 over x to the 12. Alright, one more. If I said so if we start on the top, we have to square everything. So what is -3 squared? What is x to the -4 squared? Okay. Let's keep the 9 over 8. That doesn't reduce. With my x's, if we are dividing, what do we do with our exponents? Subtract. So what I want you to think about, if I'm going to bring this up to the top, that means you have to do -8 minus -3 because it was a -3 on the bottom. So what is -8 minus -3? -5. So where does that -5 really have to go? So it's 9 over 8x to the 5th. Okay, so we might have variables on the